today, here is actually is what I want to do, okay, is this, is give you, mom, dad, okay, permission to parent. That's what I want to do today, is give you permission to parent your super fantastic teen. And you might be thinking, well, of course I'm already parenting them because you know what? Hey, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, so I'm already parenting. But you know what? Are you? Okay. Now I'm not saying you're not parenting. Okay. Because yes, you are parenting. All right. If you have a child, you are already, right, a parent. So, but the difference is, especially as they're babies, even though, okay, my specialty is teenagers, but when you have a child, yes, you're instantly, bam, a parent. You're instantly a mom, you're a dad. If you are the mom and you're carrying, right, the baby in your tummy, you are already a parent, aren't you? You're parenting that baby within you. So as the baby's born and as they grow up, okay, so sometimes people don't parent, do they? So if you know someone and you know the situation, maybe you're in a situation like that and you're like, oh, that is darn right. There are some people in my life that could be parenting right now and they're not. So this is what I'm saying, okay? And I do have some of like that in another video, and you can definitely check that out on my channel here. Just because you are a mom, dad doesn't mean that you are parenting. And here's the thing too. Sometimes we get caught up, right, in wanting to be the friend to our teen. That's actually another video that I have, okay, about being your teen's friend. And is how I want to rephrase that to you today is even this. Sometimes parents get so worked up, so caught up in the, like, their teen is running the household. Their teen, they don't want to upset their teenager. Oh my gosh, you don't want to do that because there's hell to pay if we let little Linda Lou, not have her way. So that's not parenting, okay? That's your teenager running the house. And yes, I think I have a video about that too, okay, with your teen. Being in control. Is your teen in control or are you? So who's controlling the household? So that is not parenting. And then your teen is doing whatever they want. So this is what I'm talking about, okay? Is, I'm giving you permission to parent today. So that might look like something different. And you might not even understand that until after this video. All right. Even maybe you didn't quite understand what I was even referring to until the beginning of this. And then now maybe you got through, the first, however many seconds, minutes, and you pushed through that. And now you're just kind of watching this to see, all right, what does she mean? What do I need permission to parent for? Because like I said, sometimes I think you do. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're not even parenting really our teens. And so many times parents think, well, you know what? They're teenagers now. They don't need me anymore. They don't need me to be, hovering over them. No, they don't. Okay. They're not 3. They're not 2. They're not babies, but they do need you in their life. They do need mom and dad. Yes. Okay. More than what you think they do. Just because you have a teenager, it doesn't mean that they don't need mom and dad. All right. It's just in a different way. You have to structure things differently. There's different stages in life that your teen needs something a little bit different. Your 13-year-old needs something different compared to your 19-year-old, right? Because 18, they're the legal adult, aren't they, in America? So different cultures have different stages and different things. But what I'm talking about is the American teenager. All right. And sometimes because we have lacked in our parenting, then when they become adults, they actually, okay, technically, right, for us, 18, they're legally adults, but so many times they holy bananas. Yeah, they don't know how to do anything because that does fall on us. It falls on you, mom. It falls on you, dad, because when you're not showing your teen how to be, productive, and now they're going to be, you look back and now they're 35 years old and you're like, man, I guess I kind of messed up a little. Now, this isn't like for me just to be like saying how bad you are and you're such a horrible parent. I'm not here to say that. All right. I'm here to give you permission to parent. That's what I'm here to do. So then if you've struggled and you're thinking, man, you know what, there's some things that need to change. I need to change. You know what? That's not a bad thing. And your household needs to change. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's going to be hard. That's for darn sure. Okay. Especially if you have been very laxed in things with your household and then now suddenly you want to change things up. Yeah, you better expect some resistance because most of the time people are going to be like, whoa, what is going on here? I'm the one in charge. Stop trying to be in charge now because you haven't been, Dad. So now what's going on here, Mom? So you definitely need to get on the same page. All right. So Mom and Dad, get on the same page. That is definitely one thing there. So if you turn this video off and this is as far as you want to go, do that. And your permission to parent, get on the same page because that right there is huge. You can't really parent that well, can you? If that's already been an experience that you are facing, that you've seen other people with, yeah, because your teen, hey, they're not dumb. They are definitely smart and they will use that against you. Not only your teenager, but any child for that matter. Your baby at 9 months old will use that against you because it's just their little nature. That cute little sweet baby nature is to take advantage of you if they can, because they can and they will. All right. Your teenager is no different. Now, I'm not talking, like not every single teen is just out to take advantage of their parents and they're just rebellious. Not every teen, of course, is like that. You will have a teenager that is super compliant for now. But hey, what they're going to be like as an adult, you know what? Sometimes that changes because they were so feeling like, oh my gosh, you just have to obey and I just can't do anything wrong. And sometimes then after they leave the home, they are like a person you never even thought they would ever be. So, that's probably another video, isn't it? But today, you know what? Yeah. So I just want you to know, you know what? This is to give you permission to parent, give you permission, all right, to do what you need to do, Mom, Dad. So within that permission to parent here is, I want to give you the statement that is like to train them up in the way they should go. Okay. So if you are thinking, hey, I think that's in the Bible, you're right. It is in the Bible. So if you want to tell me where it is, feel free to do that. All right. And even though you might not be a Christian, all right, this does not mean that this video that you don't have to just turn this off. But hey, unless you want to, that's totally fine. Okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings because I'm not even going to know, am I? And training them up in the way they should go. When you're thinking of that, if you've ever trained for something, okay, like a marathon, some of you maybe have, or you've trained for a new job, you've just trained yourself for something, okay? And when you think of that word, training them, what even comes to your mind? Probably like a strategic plan, right? Okay, if I'm going to train myself, all right, I'm going to train someone else. What's the plan? What are we going to do? What are we going to do on a daily basis? What things do I need to change? So that's what, okay, that's referring to, isn't it? So if you need to train your teen in the way they should go, maybe think of a plan that you maybe need to now structure, that you need to develop, that you need to create so that, right, when they're old, they will not depart. Okay. So then you're training them into, hopefully, really the number one thing is into the things of God. And just because you train your teen and just because you take them to church, hey, I got to tell you, all right, that does not mean that your teen is going to follow Jesus. They might they might go to youth group, they might go to all of these things that, sometimes the parents are forcing them to go. And I'm not saying like that is bad, that you are making your teen go to their youth group, that you're making your teen do Christ-like things. But what I'm saying is this: Just because you force them, just because you make them, just because they go to their youth group, just because they go to church on Sunday, that does not make them a Christ follower. Okay? That does not make them love the Lord. It doesn't make their heart actually even be close to Jesus. It doesn't. All right. Hey, you might be training them in the way they should go, and you're taking them and inviting them and including them and wanting them to pursue that. But it's a heart issue. Okay. The heart issue too starts with you at home. How are you even living your life, mom? How are you living your life, dad? Okay. Because that's part of the training, isn't it? It is. It's part of the training. What am I doing that my teen is seeing? How am I behaving in certain circumstances? What am I doing behind closed doors? What am I doing on my phone? See, all that's part of the training in the way that they should go, because your teen is not dumb. Your teen definitely sees you. How many times, I can't even tell you, countless times that teens have said to me, okay, my parents have told me to get off my phone. They're grounding me from my phone. And you know what? They're on their phone just as much. Actually, I think my parents are on the phone more than I am. So what does that tell you? And I know you might think, oh my gosh, that is so stupid. No, I'm not. But you know what? Think about that. Ask your teen, how much time do you think that I'm on the phone? And see what their response is. If you do not want an honest answer, then I'm going to tell you right now, do not ask them, because they're going to tell you. Okay? Especially if you are asking. You cannot be asking like, well, how much time am I on my phone? Okay? Because you know what? That's just going to instantly start an argument. You set the tone. You set that tone of what the conversation is going to be by your own tone and how you act and how you are responding and asking and answering questions, scenarios, situations. Okay. So this is part of the training. All right. Is to check yourself. Okay. What do I need to do? All right. Am I on my phone too much? Oh, golly. That's hard, isn't it? You're like, gosh, stop saying that, Shawna, because you know what? Parents have an addiction to the phone just as much as their teenager does. That's why you don't hear too often, no phones at the table anymore, because everybody tends to have a phone at the table. How many times do you go to a restaurant? Who's on the phone? Okay. And I'm talking grandparents here too. All right. I'm not just talking like the 5-year-old. People are on their phone. What's the communication? What's the conversation? Not a lot, unless sometimes they're scrolling and then you're looking at it together. Sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when that is now the conversation, when that is now how you connect, is strictly because you have a phone in your hand and you want to see these mindless videos that really are doing what for you, okay? So you need to really just think about that. All right. So if you're training again your teen in the way they should go, all right. So think about some of the things, and really, you know what? Go ahead and get a pen and a paper and think about some ways that you can train up your teen, okay, in the way that they should go. So when I'm saying yes, that number one thing should be about God, should be about Jesus, should be about them, who they serve first and foremost. But like I said, again, just because you're taking them to church, okay, it does not necessarily mean that they're going to serve God. And sometimes you will see even adults, maybe, I don't know, maybe this is how you have been, as you grew up and you were really mad and angry at your mom, mad and angry with your dad, because the way they did things when it came to God in their life, to where it was just like so pounded in the sense of like, you better do this. And, do you remember the What Would Jesus Do movement? And I'm not necessarily saying, like that's not a bad thing to be conscious of, but sometimes it became so like heavy in such a like, like if you're not doing this Jesus stuff, we were very we were very condemning, actually, more so with it than having it come alongside of us and helping us with it. So there was a difference, and there still is a difference, because sometimes parents, we can get so religious, can't we? Yes, we can. That we actually are so focused on our teen making us look good with how much they're going to church, and how much they're going to youth group and how they're showing up. But really, you know what? Sometimes these kids put on a facade. Sometimes these teenagers, they are really good at pretending to make their parents think that they're someone that they're not. And sometimes, you know what? They're quiet. They don't say much. How was youth group? It was fine. What'd you do in there tonight? We sang some songs. We did this. We played some games. So what did you learn about God? What did you learn about Jesus? When you're sitting in church, how did you hear what the pastor said? Ask them some questions. All right. Definitely. And then be prepared to even answer some questions. Okay. Because they might be just like really irritated. Like, why do we even got to go to church? I don't even like going to church. Well, okay. Instead of getting mad at them, well, this is what we do. We are a family. We will go to church. Oh, really? That sounds real nice, doesn't it? How about ask them some questions? You might be irritated yourself. Well, what don't you like about it? What is it that you feel mad about? Well, I didn't like what they said. Well, what did you not like? What was it that the pastor said? What is it? So try to get to why is it that they don't like going? Okay. But again, be prepared to hear some things that maybe they're talking even to you about, that they don't like the way you act, maybe at home, and the way you act then at church, because sometimes that's what teenagers are thinking and they're feeling. Well, you don't act the same. And they don't like that. They don't like that hypocrisy. So if you're going to be one way at church, okay, holier than thou, and then you go home and then you're cussing up a storm and you're mad and you're angry and you're yelling and you're fighting all the time. Actually, maybe pretty much by the time you get from the church building to your car, you're instantly mad and angry and you're fighting. So there's issues in there that need to be settled and need to be talked about. Okay. Because if that's how it is, and that's the environment that church seems to be for your teen's not going to, that's going to be what your teen's going to be thinking of when it comes to God and when it comes to Jesus. They're going to be, I don't want any of that, because I remember what it was like when I grew up. I remember when my parents used to make me do that. So ask them questions. All right. So you might just have to have them sit with you in church. Okay. So your 18-year-old and your 19-year-old, if they're living in your home, yeah, you can still have them. Hey, let's go to church, because you want it to become who they are, not just something what they do. Okay. Jesus is, okay, if they've accepted Christ and the same for you, lives inside of you, okay, then it is who you are. You go to church, you read your Bible, you do these things, don't you? Okay. You kind of tell people about Jesus, and you tell people about Jesus with the way you live your life, not just constantly that you have to be, giving the sermon on a mount all the time. All right. Because sometimes the way we do that, it's like, okay, you know what? That's about enough of that. They're just trying to make me be somebody I'm not. So you want to be, and hey, even ask God, who should I be today? What am I supposed to be saying? How do I reflect you? Okay. Because you can talk to God, can't you, at any time? And then is what you're doing. See, training your teen in the way they should go. Then you are talking and praying and showing your teen how to utilize the Jesus within them. And if they have not accepted Christ, then that's what you still do. You start doing things together that's going to be Christ-like yourself in love. Yeah. Okay. So you can get your teen, okay, to understand more so the things of who Jesus is and what God is for them, and not just routine. And this is what I've done. Because a lot of times the reason why that, even though you have taken your teen to church, ever since they were like born, you've taken your whole family to church. And part of the reason why your teen will not stay, okay, when I'm talking, okay, maybe 18, because maybe they've graduated, and 18, 19, and some can graduate at 17, can't they? And they're gone, aren't they? Hey, maybe they're not even at home at that time. So that's really hard. That is probably the hardest stages right there. And that's probably the most difficult. At least it was for me. And I don't know, it might not be for you. I don't know, but it definitely was for me. And within that, and if you've right? Train them in the way they should go. When they are old, they will not depart. So you want them, of course, to, you want them to go to church. I mean, that's your heart. You want them to know Jesus if you are a Christ follower yourself. So sometimes you just have to, let them go, right? They got to make their own decisions in where they stand. But sometimes the reason why they don't go is because the number one reason is because dad in the home. Believe it or not, you can research this yourself and see when the dad is not following Christ and leading the way he should, it drops substantially where your children will go and what direction they will move in when it comes to Christ. So compared to the mom, and a lot of times it is the mom, isn't she? The mom's the one that's plugging away and talking to them about Jesus and trying to read the Bible and trying to do these Bible studies. And I'm not saying dad does it, because dad, hey, if you do, woohoo to you. Okay. High five. Woo. Yeah. All right. So go you, dad, if you are doing that. And hey, go you too, mom. All right. This isn't just, I'm just going to, favor the dad over here. No, but see, when the dad is taking his place, okay, being the leader that he's supposed to be, God honors that, because that is his position. That is his role, to be the spiritual leader of the family. So it doesn't mean that when mom, mom, if your husband's not doing that, the husband, the man, whoever that is, that's in the life of your teens, and that man is not doing it, don't stop doing it. Okay. So don't just be like, well, Shawna said, the guy's supposed to do it. Well, hey, if he's not, definitely God will honor you for doing what you need to do. All right. To raise and train your teens in the way they should go. God does not see you. He does not turn a blind eye to you and what you are doing and the effort that you are putting forth there. All right. To raise and train up your teens to be men of God, to train and raise your daughters to be women of God. All right. So keep it up. Keep it up. But another thing, like when they don't stay serving or going to church after they have graduated high school, another reason is because they didn't know Jesus for themselves. This is what we did as a family, but they never knew Jesus for themselves. They didn't know really truly how to talk to God. They never really turned, really a surrender is what it is, because if you are thinking what your life is and you follow Jesus Christ, all right, what is the difference between when you did not do that? That's kind of the same thing in your teen. And sometimes you will see things in your teen, and yes, you're like, oh my gosh, you know what? It breaks my heart because I really want that for them. Well, then you need to be having conversations about it, okay? Not just expecting them to come along and just dragging them to places. You need to be talking with them about it. And then when you do have conversations, truly, truly, truly hear what they're saying, okay? Hey, if they're really mad and they just, are so like, oh my gosh, I can't stand it. Why do I have to go? Listen to what they're saying and ask them questions. Again, what is it that you don't like about it? What is it that did something happen? And if well, I don't like the pastor. What don't you like about him? I don't know. He's just this. I don't like the kids. I don't like the people. Okay. So what happened? What is it that you don't like about them? Listen to what they're saying. Okay. Because what they feel, do not disregard what they're feeling. Okay. No, we don't live by feelings, but you know what? It doesn't mean that you don't have feelings. So you can't just be like, hey, that's enough of that. Cut that out. Cut the crap. Man up and go. Okay. You can't just say that for everything. And well, that's what Christians do. And we have to go and learn how to be Christ-like. Well, is that even being Christ-like? Being Christ-like is listening to them, to your teen. Okay. This is how you parent. This is what you are doing when you are parenting. Because remember, like I said, and I've said this in another video, the moment you have a child, bam, you're a parent. Okay. You have teenagers, you're a parent. So whether you're parenting is a whole different story. So this is how you are parenting. This is your permission to parent in what I'm saying to you. All right. And it's not just because you have to be saying something all the time, but it's in your listening and then asking good questions. And sometimes, hey, if they're mad and angry, give them a moment. And you can say, hey, you know what? I don't understand why you're so mad. So they might not even realize how, like what their roller coaster emotion is right now. So, hey, I don't understand why you're so mad. Don't say this. Oh my golly. You might even know the word I'm about to say. The little sentence or phrase. Just calm down. Oh, right. That's like an instant ninja time right there with that phrase, isn't it? Just calm down. Oh my gosh. I am calm. Don't say that to me. So you know how you know how you may feel when someone tells you that and you're mad and angry. You don't like instantly, yeah, you're right. I am overreacting and I do need to calm. No, that little statement right there instantly makes you even more mad, doesn't it? Like you thought you were mad before, but them saying, "Oh, just calm down," like fire fume comes out of you that you didn't even know existed from them just saying that to you. It's the same thing for your super fantastic teenager. Okay, so like wipe that from your little statement bank there. That's the phrase, the statement that you do not say. So you don't say that, but you can ask, hey, I don't understand why you're so mad. I don't understand why you're angry. But do you hear how I'm saying that? My tone here, okay? Even maybe my face, not in a, I don't understand why you're so mad, okay? Sometimes, yes, you have to talk that way, okay? Sometimes you do to actually kind of break in to where they're at. Okay. So sometimes, yes, you do. But here's the thing. If you did have to be mad a little bit yourself and angry to break in to have them hear you, don't stay there. Okay. So yeah, say it. Hey, I don't understand why you're so mad. Okay. Because they might not even realize that where their level of anger is until you say that. And then that might take them back to where they're going to instantly like, oh, okay, think about that. Or I'm not mad. Well, then what is it? Honey, what is going on? See, so when you're communicating and talking with your teen, one of the best ways to break through and to really reach your teen is to you, mom, okay, right here, and dad, all right, so listen up, is to you mentally to think of your teen as someone else's teen. Because you're going to talk to them a whole lot different than you will your own teenager. So when you're thinking of the situation, this is my friend's son. This is my friend's daughter. She asked me to talk to them. If you mentally start kind of putting that in your head when you have to talk to your teen about certain things and situations, circumstances, conversations, that actually helps you step back and have a conversation a little bit differently, okay, compared to when it's your own teen. Because won't you have this statement, or like where your teen has said this to you before? How come you don't talk to them like you talk to me? How come you don't treat them like you treat me? And what's your response? Yeah, everybody now, because that's not my kid, right? That's exactly what we say. Because that's not my kid. I'm not their mom. I'm not their, that's not my teenager. That's not my child. See? And we all have said that, right? How many times have you said that? And if you haven't said it yet, you know that you're about to, okay? So that is the difference. Well, why are you so nice to them? You don't treat them the same way, right? Because, hey, you know what? I'm not their mom. So you're going to treat them a little bit different than you are going to treat your own, because you know what? It's your responsibility, isn't it? To what? Parent your own teenager. So there you go. Okay. You're getting some permission in here. All right. So that's with some God stuff. That's with some Jesus stuff. Okay. But those two things, those are the biggest things. Dad, when you step it up and you take your role and you are the one being the spiritual leader, man, that is huge. That is a huge thing right there. Your teen will follow. Okay. Most of your teens will follow more when the dad is taking the position. And mom, yes, you stay doing it as well. Okay. And then the other one was again that because your teen didn't know Jesus for themselves. Okay. So then if you're thinking, well, then how do I even do that? I do take them to youth group and I do go to church. Well, then is what you do is you start talking with them. Okay. About what the service was, maybe watching, if you don't even go to church, but you find something you can start watching online, but you just start implementing some things. Okay. that they can get Jesus and learn Jesus for themselves. So that's what you do. You, get some devotional things and start reading those. And where you show them how to talk to God, you just start talking with your teen, okay, including them in things. And when they have questions, so then you start answering those questions. And sometimes you don't know the answer, because sometimes none of us do, okay? Because sometimes God is like, well, you know what? You're not going to know that answer. So, but you know what? I'm going to try to find out for you. Okay. But then you join together, you communicate these things together. And hey, I got to tell you, as you are training your teen in the way they should go, just like a marathon, because that's exactly what it is a marathon. You do not just train one day. You don't just do one thing and you're good to run that marathon. No, you're not. It's a long training. And then the marathon itself, yeah, that's not just a few minutes, is it? No, it is not. And that's the same thing with your teen. Conversations are never just a one and done. The life, and when you are training up your teen, it's not one and done. You're going to have like the same conversation like 50,000 times. And you're like, oh my gosh, did we not just talk about this yesterday? Did we not just talk about this same thing in the car ride home? What was that, 20 minutes ago? Oh my golly. Yeah. And here's the thing. Yeah, you did. You did have that conversation even maybe 5 minutes ago. Were you not listening to me when we just had this conversation? Didn't we? What, 30 seconds ago? Yeah, you probably did. And you're going to keep on and on and on and on. And yeah, it bugs the crap out of you. And you're like, oh my golly, I can't even believe it. Yeah, well, believe it. Okay. And that's just the way it is in that teenage realm of life. And because their brain is not fully developed. So sometimes those things, they really just like, oh, yeah, right. Oh, were you talking to me? Oh, did we have a conversation about that? You're like, oh my gosh, yeah, we did. And then just almost like you feel like you're going crazy, isn't it? Because you're like, was I the only one here in this conversation here? Apparently I was. So yeah, that is how you feel. And those feelings are real and those feelings are true. So, you know what? Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work, Mom, Dad. Get that Rocky robe on. Whew. Get that Rocky robe on. Okay, let's go. Let's go, champ. You can do this, okay? But you know what? The best way to do it is with Jesus. So that helps. And I know that from experience, from just raising my own teens. Goodness sakes alive. Maybe someday I'll tell you some of those stories, but you know what? Not today. So, okay, another thing that you're doing in this marathon, all right, is as you are training them and with your permission to parent, okay, right here is you want to then set boundaries within this marathon training. That's what you're doing. Then you're setting some boundaries in your home with the things of your teenager, especially, okay, again, 13, they've just become a teenager. And seriously, that is like an overnight thing. Like, goodness sakes alive, where they went to bed, oh my gosh, you're so sweet. And then they wake up and they're teenagers like, oh my gosh, what just happened here? And it's kind of scary and sometimes sad. All these emotions that you get, okay? Now I'm talking about your emotions right now, not just your teenagers, to where you just can't even believe it. Like, holy smokes, what just happened here? And then sometimes it's not an overnight thing, but sometimes it's just like a minute to minute, isn't it? That you're having a conversation and then, man, they're just like freaking out and just all over the place. And then they're not. I'm like, what's going on here? What happened to my sweet boy who's now a teenager? What happened to my daughters? Like, oh my golly, what has happened here? So sometimes that's what it is with the 13-year-old, 14. And, it can be kind of scary sometimes. And some are worse than others. So part of that, yes, you have to set some boundaries within your home and within the things that you do, okay? So again, see, you're having a list here. You're compiling up some things here in the midst of this training that you are now going to be developing and creating of your training in this, of the way that you know what, they should go. Okay. So in this marathon race that you are preparing for, what are going to be the boundaries? What are some things that you're going to put in there? What are that you even think of? So boundaries are, yeah, you know what? Sometimes teens, you know what, as they get older, this is the one they really can't stand is curfew. So here's the thing. Sometimes, you know what? Teens don't actually realize that the state they live in, the county, the town, wherever, that place actually has a curfew for teenagers. And sometimes they don't even know that. So then when they're like, well, why can't I be home at 2 o'clock in the morning? Well, because the actual state curfew tells you to be home at 11, at midnight, whatever. Well, oh, so they really, you might have to say that again 2,000 times, okay, in just one day to remind them that because there is a curfew that you have to abide by. That's called the law. So we actually abide by the law, son. So that's what we do, daughter. Okay. So that's why you have to be home at that time because the law says so. So you do want to teach them that, don't you? Because those are boundaries. You can't just disobey the law, okay? Because it's the law. So that's what we do. We obey the law. So in the boundaries, so yes, okay, and with how they drive their car, who's in their car, the things that they're doing in their life, and how they're living their life, and what are these other boundaries, okay, that you have with friends, with so many different things, you know, of course, those are the things that come to my mind right away. Okay. So then what are going to even be your boundaries? And not even just the boundaries, but even you're setting expectations. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about setting expectations, you have to be careful that you're not setting such high expectations, okay, that they cannot even reach. So it's good to, like, when you set expectations of them, okay, and there's so many different things, okay, and this is one, and I'll probably make another video of this, what I'm about to say right now, expectations of sex, okay, because sometimes, and this here is even Christian parents, because I have had, I've worked with teens for a long time, and there have been a lot of Christian, okay? Now I'm talking not just like Christian, you go to church, Christian, and that's what we do. We do that on Sundays, and whatever I do the rest of the week, hey, it doesn't even matter. Now I'm talking about people who truly will say they are Christ followers, okay? And a lot of them will, you know what? Their so-called boundaries, okay, and the expectation is that I'm going to put my daughter on birth control and I'm going to hand my son condoms and hey, just scoot along over there because that's what teenagers do. And I'm not going to, you know, stop my teen from doing that. Now this has now for reals. Christian parents have actually talked with me and stated those things that that's what they have done and that's what they would be doing. Okay. So then this is where the expectation and the boundaries come in for you. Okay. And in your permission to parent right here, what are your boundaries when it's going to come to your teen and sex? Okay. So sex until what? Until they have a boyfriend, girlfriend, sex until they feel like they're in love, sex until they're engaged. What is the standard? What is the boundary? What is the expectation that you are going to be putting in your home for that? Okay. So you might have a 13-year-old and you might have a 19-year-old. What has that been? And let's even say that, okay, you have a 13-year-old and then you have a 19-year-old, you have an 18-year-old. So you maybe have like one that's a senior and then one that's in 7th grade. What has been even the compromise that you've had maybe with other of your children within that realm? Because you might have more than just one teenager right now. What has been a compromise in there? And that maybe you're thinking, you know what, Shawna, I have compromised on this, and you know what, and I'm not going to on this. So if that has been something, you need to be speaking that to your younger one. And you say, you know what, we've compromised in this area. And I need to tell you we were wrong and I should not have done that. So that they understand, okay, well, I guess I don't get to do that. That's right. Darn right you don't. Okay. And here's the thing. Actually, you do get to do that when you're married. Okay. And then, hey, have at it, buddy. Okay. Go ahead. Because when you're married, hey, that's what married people do. So you might have to say some apologies. You might have to, you know, ask for some forgiveness in there. for other little teenagers in that realm, because they're seeing what you did. They're seeing the way you parented. They're seeing the things that you did and did not do. All right. Because they might be younger, but oh yeah, they are watching. Definitely. And that's the same thing for the older one, is watching how you parent the younger one, aren't they? Okay. Yes, they are. Well, I didn't get to do that at that age. I didn't get to act that way. I didn't have those things at that age, but now you let them have those things. Do you see? See, your teen's not dumb and they're not blind. So they see and they hear, they know what's going on. So if there is a conflict within your family about the way you've been a double standard with, okay, that's something you're going to have to talk about. Not just get mad about it and then wonder why your teen doesn't want to have a conversation with you, okay? Why your teen is avoiding you, because that's going to be the reason why, is when they don't get to say how they feel and they're just cut off and they don't get a voice with what they're seeing, and they're just making these little comments and these rude remarks. You need to be like, okay, this needs to stop and we need to have a conversation about this. So let's talk about it. So you either can talk about it there, preferably that you go somewhere else and talk about it, especially if you have little ones also, okay? Because you know what? They're going to be right there, aren't they? What? Huh? What's going on? Huh? Okay. Did you say that? You know, and some of them are very verbal, aren't they? Putting their 2 cents in there and like, okay, you know what? You don't need to be part of this conversation. So zippy the lippy, and this is between me and your brother. This is between me and your sister, not between us three, because you're 10. So you don't get to be in this conversation. So, okay, that's your permission to parent right there, whatever the age, okay? But when it comes to the teenager, it's hard, and it can be harder than some, and it can be easier for others. So this is your permission right here. Okay. So again, where is your stance in this? And if they have been sexually active, if they are wanting to be, and they're talking to you about that, what is it that you're going to say to them? Okay. So that definitely needs to be something you are thinking about right now. So actually, I think in this video, there is a way to work with me. I think will be in the show notes. Okay, so you can check that out. All right, because like I said, I'm a teen relationship coach, and I will say sex when you're married. All right, that's actually a specialty that I work with. All right, and have a program even for parents on how to, you know what, communicate and talk with your teen about sex. So it's a program that I actually have, that I go into and present that and give that to churches and to organizations. And there's also a teen program, okay? A no compromise class for teens. So if that's something, hey, you know what? Okay, those are things that I do. So you can connect to that. So, but it's definitely something, all right, mom, dad, that you need to be thinking about. And how are you going to set boundaries? How are you going to set the expectations? So when I said about expectations, sometimes expectations you set are so ridiculous. Like there is no way they can reach that. So they give up and they stop trying because they need the expectation, you know, like where it's a ladder. Okay, now I reached that one. I reached that one to where it's climbing, not so high that they jump and jump and jump and they can never reach it. So when you're setting your expectations, yes, you should have expectations. Okay. Like what? You expect them to clean the room, to do some laundry, to do some dishes, sort their clothes, take their clothes, put their clothes away. See, expectations. Clean out their car. I expect you to, help make some dinner. So what are the expectations? Okay. But you have to verbalize those expectations, because guess what? They cannot read your mind and know your expectations if it is not expressed, if it is not talked about. And here's the thing, a really good thing to do is to write them down. Involve your teen in some of these expectations. Okay. You expect them to what? Get good grades. You expect them to, so maybe in one of the classes, all right, they struggled. Like this is not their finer moment in this class. So instead of expecting them to get an A, that you will be happy that, hey, you might be happy with them getting a D. Woohoo! They passed. And then you celebrate that because you understand that that was truly the best that they could do in that particular class. Okay. It doesn't have to be in everything. Okay. That, we just kind of want to keep it low key, and you know what, we're fine with the D minus and everything that you do. And no, you know what, that's fine. No big deal. No, no, don't do that. Okay. But encourage them in the things that they are really good at, and even the things that they're not so good at. Okay. So in that expectation, then you can start to climb the expectations as they do get better, as they are encouraged, as those moments are improving. And you are what? Their number one fan. Okay. Encouraging them, because that is your job. So being the number one fan. Now, this again, this is not you enabling your team. Okay. So if that's what you're thinking, that needs to be like, bam, wiped out of your head, because no, you cannot enable your team and then expect them to do great, wonderful things. Okay. Because, hey, it doesn't mean they won't, but you cannot just always be there for them and just babying them for every little thing. Okay. No. So when I'm giving you permission to be parenting, all right, that is not parenting. So you enabling is not parenting. All right. So you do have to be tough. You do have to, that's part of the parenting. That's part of what, this training them. And that is part of the training. And some of that training is for you also, because when that marathon is going, because it is, um, it's a big task, and then that task, it comes together, and then at some point, you know what, you have to let so much of this stuff go, because you know what, they're not a baby anymore, and because they are now 25 years old, and you know what, you don't get to just hold on and try to direct them and tell them everything to do. Okay. So there comes that stage. So when they're 18, 19, and they've graduated to where you start saying, hey, you know what? I will be a soundboard for you. So hey, you can still talk to me. We can have, conversations and stuff like that. But I'm not here to tell you what to do. So, but I will definitely listen to you and hear, some of the struggles, because now the struggles kind of change. Now things different, because they're in a different realm and they're not in high school days anymore. That has changed, and that is now going to be behind them. So now they start a new journey, and that marathon is now in a different place for you. So then you have to, again, change parenting tactics. You have to change things. But you know what? Once again, here it is. You have the permission to do that. Give yourself permission. And you give yourself permission to even be sad about it, to maybe even cry, to have some tears about it, to just give yourself permission to, to be okay with the change that is taking place, because, you might be at that stage already. So, but those are words that you say to your teen when they are 18 and they're graduated. Okay. Hey, you know what? I I'm not here to tell you what to do. But now here's the thing. Now, if they're living in your home, all right, you, mom, dad, you do have the permission to parent this way too. Um, I'm sorry. You don't get to be out till 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry. This is my home. Now, if you want to, go and live out in your own home, whatever like that, then hey, then you can be, if you want to, and then have to go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. Hey, that is on you. But in my home, we don't do those things in my house. We don't. What is it that you don't do? Okay. That now that your teen is graduated and 19, and even I'm going to say 25, 8, and 30. Okay. Now this is just how I am. So whether or not you do this, I'm not trying to say that, oh my gosh, you can't believe that you're not being like me. All right. This is how I would structure my home is, I'm sorry, you don't get to do those things out there and then come into my house and bring that here, because I don't live that life. I don't do those things here. And I'm not going to have you do that here at my home, because this is my house. This is my home. And I don't do that here. So, hey, if you want to live that way over there in your own space and you're paying your rent and you're paying your own things, then I guess have at it. Okay. But you don't get to live that life here in my house. All right. So that's just myself. That's how I would structure that. Even if you have a 19-year-old, even if you have an 18-year-old, okay, they've graduated and they're 17. So sometimes they graduate at 17. So whatever that age is, and again, even if they're 30 and they're living in your home, all right, if you're feeling uncomfortable and you don't like that, you do need to mention that and say that. I'm sorry. You know what? Uh, maybe I've let you do that too long, but I just have to tell you, I can't let you do that anymore because it's really eating at me to have you not do that. Because just not in my home. So you might have to have a conversation like that. But as your teen graduates, as they're, like I said, that 19 age, you might need to have a conversation a little bit before because see, expectations change, don't they? Boundaries change. Yes, they do. Training changes a little bit different because you want to be training all this other time, okay? Definitely from child birth, okay, to what? To their 19. You are training them in the way they should go. That marathon is happening, okay? And you are chucking along and plugging away, excuse me, and doing what you should be doing. And it's not because it's easy. It's not because you've made mistakes, because, hey, we all make mistakes, but we need to learn from the mistakes so we don't keep making the same mistakes. And apologizing when we need to and say, wow, you know what, I messed up. I messed up pretty bad on that one. So I need to ask you, can you forgive me? And will you forgive me for how crappy I was, or, how, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. So you, mom, dad have to be willing to apologize. Okay. And then, yeah, change. Okay. Do some things differently. And you can even state that as part of your boundaries, as part of your expectations. Maybe have just a little sitting down. Hey, this is some things we're going to do differently here in our home. And I need to tell you, I'm sorry that I have been a crappy mom. I'm sorry I've been a crappy dad. I'm sorry I haven't done the things that I should have done. And we as a family, we're going to make some changes. Here's the changes that I'm going to do. Here's the changes I think that will be helpful for our family. And then you can say this. So what do you think? What do you think about that? Ask them if they want to have some changes. What things would they want to see different, okay, in this marathon race? So what are some things that we can do together as a family to help our family dynamic be better? Okay, because change isn't always bad, is it? So sometimes change is needed and it can be a good thing. So take some deep breaths, and you know what? It's okay. Sometimes it's hard, but you know what? This too shall pass. This too shall pass. It's not because it's easy, but it's because you stay in the game and because you keep plugging away. And yes, because you know what? You do. You got to invite God and Jesus into this situation because sometimes that's the only way that you're going to get through it is with that. So check out some other videos, okay, in my channel here. And I want to say thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next video.